time, people found it as a bit of a entertaining curiosity. Not so much a curiosity and perhaps not so much entertaining today for large parts of the news industry. What can I say? Here's another example from this year. One of our fellows from Sweden was at San Francisco Chronicle. And in Sweden, there's a lot of discussion around sort of pumping heat out of the ground as an alternative form of energy. And they haven't had that discussion at all in California. So he said, why don't we make a story about this in the San Francisco Chronicle? And they said, well, we think we ran something about it already, perhaps 6 years ago, so we don't think we can do it again. But he pushed, and then he got it through. And it got an enormous impact. So it also shows this with the international network, that something which is an established idea in one country can be very useful to to sort of bring into another country to generate a discussion. I think just a week or two after this, there was some congressman in California that started pushing for this in the US Congress. And so, here's a story, also that's pretty fun. Patrick Baltatsis then was the fellow this year. He was with Business 2.0, which is Warner, so they also get out news on cnnmoney.com. And this was when they launched the Mac Mini, and that seems like a piece of tech news, product news. But what was interesting here was that they actually brought up the expression Apple's living room strategy. And I think this is that we're now seeing how Apple is actually has strategies not for creating another techie gadget, but they have visions about how we organize our lives and how that will look in the future and how they can affect it. Here's something also another fellow of ours did. He mapped hotspots around the world for where things are happening. And if you think of it, we know things are happening in Bangalore, we know things are happening in Silicon Valley, but it's not a very usual theme, even though it ought to be. I mean, if you know that you're good at something in your country, which other parts of the world are competing with you in sort of bringing out new ideas? And what's your presence there? Yeah. Okay. Here was the conference that we had this year. It was about 150 people who came for 3 days then to Stanford. We had a good time. Billy couldn't come, but you had a good talk over the video. Okay. We also have possibilities of publishing essays on sort of various aspects of how to do journalism on innovation. And what we started with this year was also that we have a group blog for the fellows. So if you go in on innovationjournalism.org/doer, then you come to the group blog where the fellows this year basically have done stories about, well, they tell about the stories that they have published with their host publications. And then we also have our just a blog where I put in generally new things that are happening with the program and so forth. Small summary with some metrics. I haven't put in 2007 here yet. But we see that sort of they're publishing more and more stories here. We did a small study on that, and one thing is the internet effect, because the publications in 2004, almost none of them ran blogs seriously, and in 2006 they were really getting going, which meant it became much easier to publish things. They, instead of saying that we can't publish it, they say we won't put it in the paper version, but we'll put it on the web. Here is something you also can find on the internet. I have a few copies of this DVD along with me, but we brought together some leading gurus from technology. This is Vint Cerf, who is the father of the internet, and this is Whit Diffie, who is the father of public key encryption, which makes it possible to do banking on the internet, for example. And usually one brings together journalists with these guys, and they talk to them about what they are doing, but here was the other way around. And this was done summer 2005, and that was just when people in the news industry they were really beginning to realize the deep impact that internet was having on the news business, and it's very visible in this video. And you can find it on our website and see it on Google Video. We're also doing some research. We're collaborating with Mark Ventresca at Oxford. We arranged a workshop at Stanford where we discussed actually how this element of mass communication, how it's been ignored in all research on innovation. So it's not only that the journalism hasn't really seen innovation for what it is. The experts in innovation haven't really understood the role that mass communication plays for it, which we can see, for example, my theory, the failure of the Lisbon process. So what we suggested here is that this is something good also for researchers to look at. So it's a useful theme for innovation journalism, is a useful theme for exploring the interplay of journalism in innovation ecosystems. And it's also to see how sort of the innovation processes and ecosystems interact with public attention, i.e. how it is a part of sort of democracy, etc. And which role news media plays there. About as the research one has when one looks at political science today and looks at the role of the media there, one should have in the innovation research. And one can also do research on, for example, this that we noticed, why don't journalists report on innovation as much today? Well, we haven't done any solid research on that. This is something that sort of we just get confirmed all the time when we talk to people. But one needs to have more like solid research on the work environment of journalists and what enables them or disables them from covering innovation. Okay, so that's my talk. You'll find my email address here at the top. That's the one that works best. And here is my phone number. Here is the blog site, and there you can also find the other the main website of the program, and there you can also find links to the blogs. So thanks really for inviting me here. It's great being in Maastricht.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
David.